So the video is not sponsored, but shout out to NYXI for sending this. Having a first look with you guys, just gonna tell you what I think about it. You're gonna see this video before they are, so it's not sponsored or anything like that, but they sent it over so that I could check it out and share it with you guys. But now that we got that out of the way, this is the NYXI Hyperion. So the NYXI Hyperion is supposed to be a Joycon controller alternative that's more premium and has more features. So right off the bat, you can see that the overall shape compared to Joy-Con looks a lot more usable as a standard controller. Right off the bat, it looks like a much more comfortable shape. And then on top of that, we have these little icons up here which represent the RGB color. So all around the stick and these little strips right here, you can pick the color individually. So it's something akin to like a RGB keyboard or something like you'd have on a gaming PC. There are mods to do this to like normal Joy-Cons, but this is how the controller comes, which is super cool. So we have this like polished finish on some of the imaging on the box, and overall is actually pretty high quality box. So as shown here, the NYXI Hyperion goes for about $60 for a set like this, which is significantly cheaper than Joy-Con, but it still boasts a lot more features. Really, I think the only things you'd be missing out on are HD Rumble and Amiibo support, but we'll get to that. The pair of Joy-Cons $80 and this is $60. So right off the bat, you can see the RGB colors, so you can pick whatever color you want. Sort of ergonomics, which I already mentioned. So it has basic vibration. I don't think it has like HD Rumble. And then it has these back buttons. And I'll compare them in a bit. These controllers overall seems very similar to the Nintendo licensed Hori split pad. The only difference though is that the Hori split pad here must be linked to the Nintendo Switch. They don't have batteries in them. So this is only for playing in handheld mode. Like right now, they're completely dead because they don't work off batteries. So they can't be used as wireless controllers. However, this can. And on top of everything I've mentioned so far, I'm just now noticing it says 2-year warranty. So it seems that NYXI is really confident in sort of what they're offering here. So yeah, let's finally get into it. So everything pulls out like that. The instructions kind of fell out there. So let's put the box off to the side. Alright, so in the back of this tray we have our USB Type-C cable, which I think is to charge them if you want to use them with the Nintendo Switch Lite, right? Because you can charge them by putting them on your Nintendo Switch, but the Nintendo Switch Lite can't do that. So if you want to use these with something like Switch Lite, there's like an alternative way to charge them. So that's what that cable's for. You don't necessarily need it if you have a regular Switch. And this is like the middle bridge or sort of grip to join them together as pictured here on the instruction manual. We'll try that out later. And this instruction manual seems like a pretty beefy situation here. Yeah, so it seems like every question you could possibly have would be answered right here. So I don't think I'll be needing to take a look back at this, but if I get stuck during the setup, I'll pop it back out. So finally, this is the NYXI Hyperion controller, like purple version that sort of matches the sort of old school purple of the GameCube. So obviously each half's a little bit different, but for the most part they're the same. These sticks have a metal sort of lining on them so that it doesn't rub down the actual stick as fast. And then you have this LED ring that goes around it, as well as this LED strip right here, so that you can customize the color and change the color of your controller. You have these standard side buttons that all Joy-Cons have, so that you can hand this to a friend and they can play, which isn't ideal, but you can still do it. The bumper is a mechanical switch, while the trigger is a membrane, like a squishy. The back grip button is also a tactical mechanical switch. There's some different mode buttons right here, which we'll find out what those do in a bit. This is to release it off the system and pull it off. So this is the screenshot button, and this is a turbo button. And then same with over here, this is the home button, and this is another turbo button. Then in addition to just being GameCube colored, the colors of the face buttons do take a lot of inspiration from the GameCube. So I'm assuming that these need to be charged, so I'm going to throw them on my console and we'll check them out. So they slide on just like any regular Joy-Con, to be honest. That's one more thing to mention. If you don't have a Switch console like this, if you have like a Switch Lite and you want to charge them with a cable, or you just want to charge them with a cable anyway, on the bottom of each unit there's a USB Type-C port, and that is where you use the included USB-C cable. So I knew that all of this lit up, but I wasn't aware that the actual face buttons would light up, so that's another cool touch. In the settings, it just kind of shows gray Joy-Con, which isn't surprising. So using the like vibration in the Find My feature, I can already tell that the rumble definitely isn't HD rumble, it's that of like a standard controller, which isn't that big of a deal. But like I mentioned, these controllers are pretty similar to Nintendo's own Hori pad. as far as functionality and form factor. However, these have built-in batteries so they can be used wirelessly, RGB lighting, and just a lot more features on top of what these have to offer. And these go for about $40, I believe, and these go for about $60. So for about $20 more, you're getting wireless connectivity and lots of other things. Now that we have them paired, let's just pull them off here. Throw the switch up here. So this is sort of the middle bridge attachment. It's made of just hollow plastic, nothing too crazy. Same plastic as the actual controllers. And it has this little light passageway so that you can see what player you are. It shines through. Sliding that together, it makes actually a much more usable controller than I originally anticipated. It's a lot lighter than you'd think looking at this. Like, it definitely doesn't weigh as much, which isn't a bad thing. Like, there's no twist or flex or anything like that, and it does feel solid, but it is pretty light. There's another look at those metal sticks. So before we get into any gameplay, I'm going to consult the manual on how to change all this RGB stuff. So in order to change the RGB lighting that we have going on here, you'll have to locate the T button on either controller. So there's a T button here and a T button here. So you press the T button and hold it, and then you click the stick, and then nothing happens. So then you release the T button while holding the stick, and then it changes the color. So let's try it on this side. Hold T, click stick, release T while holding stick. Now they're yellow, green, and so on. We can go through all the colors just like that. And personally, I do like this sort of purple magenta color, so I'll just leave it on that. I get roughly 6.5 hours of playtime on a full charge on these if you're using them wires. It's considerably less than Joycon, but they have lighting and a lot of other stuff going on, so I suppose that makes sense. So here's a closer look at the NYXI Hyperion. They do have lots of other models like the Hyperion Pro and the Wizard, I believe, which is their actual GameCube style controller, not just GameCube color. So let's just boot up some Zelda and kind of see how this works. So before that, let's go to the control stick calibration screen. So we're going to try the right one. So let's see. So we can make some pretty tiny circles, but it doesn't necessarily stick to the axis as much as some cheaper controllers. And I'm sure it'll be the same on the left-hand side. So you can make some... this one's not quite the same. You can make some pretty tiny circles, but it's not necessarily one-to-one, like a Hall effect stick. They do sell this exact controller, the Hyperion Pro, with Hall effect sticks, which are much more precise. However, these are closer to that of sort of normal Joy-Con. So obviously we see that it works wirelessly, and I'll be 100% honest, in this configuration it is a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be, but as I mentioned previously, it's a lot lighter than I thought it would be. Not in a cheap way, like it doesn't twist or flex at all, no matter how much force I put upon it. It's pretty sturdy, but it is pretty light, to be honest, probably just because this middle partition weighs nothing, because after all, the middle is just plastic, basically. So now we have it in handheld mode, just playing a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom, and overall really can't complain. So obviously the ergonomics are much better than that of a standard Joy-Con. There are options like the joypad here, but as you can see, it doesn't work wirelessly. You don't have all the RGB lights, motion controls, and things like that. Which, since I mentioned it, yes, this controller does have motion controls, and they seem to work just fine. If you do want the Hyperion Pro with the Hall effect thumbsticks, which are much more precise, that one does cost a little more, maybe $10 to $20 more, but as configured, this version of the Hyperion goes for about $60 from NYXI. And they sent this over for me to check out, not paid or sponsored or anything like that. They said, hey, you know, make one of your normal videos, whatever. And I haven't bought Joy-Con in years. The last pair of Joy-Con I bought was those, the special edition Zelda ones, like 3 years ago. So I'm not really a person that goes out and buys Joy-Con regularly. But if you wanted a new pair of Joy-Con specifically, you know, for handheld mode and stuff, that you could also just convert into a pretty decent Pro controller. In my eyes, you're getting Joy-Con as well as a Pro controller with one controller. Because even though they're technically separate controllers, because of the ergonomics, it really doesn't even compare to the Joy-Con grip. Because while the Joy-Con grip does give these a little bit of grip like this, the buttons and stuff are straight up and down. It's a lot less ergonomic. If you're looking for a pair of Joy-Con to just play on the go that also doubles as a equally functional Pro controller, the NYXI Hyperion's pretty great option. So you have these customizable back buttons, which you can, you know, map any button that you'd like to. You have the RGB, can be changed literally at the click of a button. See, now it's orange on that side. So you can mix and match the RGB, have it change colors. You have motion controls, wireless, handheld, all that. So to sort of wrap this up, the NYXI Hyperion, I think, is excellent for the price. For $20 cheaper than a pair of Joycon, you're getting almost all of the functionality with some extra little functionality like, extra comfortability, back buttons, and lights and things like that. The only main things you're missing out on are amiibo support as well as Hall effect sticks, but even regular Joy-Con don't have Hall effect sticks. If you want Hall effect sticks, you have to look at the Hyperion Pro. So maybe I'll take a look at the Hyperion Pro at a later date, but this is what I have my hands on right now. Thank you all for stopping by. That was the NYXI Hyperion. Overall, really enjoyed it, not a lot of complaints, and I think it's worth the price, to be honest. So yeah, that's all from me. I'm out. Peace.